Hey everyone, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to the world. It's good to see you guys. I'm here with Nim and Laura, and we're all really excited because we're just going to go into a space, create a real safe space here for Nim to share with us and you guys in the world what's just going on and what's coming up. And Nim, as we go through this process, I think it's just
Mhm.
best to focus on, even though there's other people watching, it's really just us in this space. Energetically,
Sure.
you're being held, and whatever wants to come up, it's totally welcome and safe.
Great.
Where do you want to start?
Uh, well, I did have a few things I was thinking about earlier on today when I had a free moment. Um, I think the main thing for me is it's I what I've identified as I've gotten wounding from both sides. Um, Particularly, I think it's a lot more male, masculine, because of, well, based on my perception of the way the patterns that I've identified in my family, there are a lot of there's a lot of significant amount of male wounding,
Mm,
um, and I think it's affected my life in more ways than one. Emotion. I mean, I'll be quite open about it. I was emotionally abused. I was physically abused. Luckily enough, I wasn't sexually abused. Um, but I grew up in a family where discipline was it was a very disciplinarian sort of environment. And my comment earlier about when you guys were interviewing Susan, when I was
mhm,
watching that, um, when I asked the question about the thing about being sort of insinuating about being obedient, being carrying out my duty. Coming from a Hindu and Indian culture, it's duties like one of the biggest things. I mean, in the broad spectrum of relationships, not just limiting to not just to romantic relationships, but I think even sort of from a broad, looking at it from a broader perspective, um, what I've come to realize doing a bit of sort of shadow work on myself, and after having gone through my own spiritual awakening in 2017, it's I just feel like my life has been held back. I've struggled to make progress. I feel like my masculine wounding in me, that has the way it's played out in relationships with my ex girlfriends, has not. It's kind of it's left. I'm going to use the word disempowered. I've actually felt quite disempowered, and I don't mean that in the sense that I want to control my girlfriend. No, I mean that's a very negative way of looking at it. The relationship's got to be balanced. There's got to be the holding the space for one another. There should be a balance of masculine and feminine in both. Both. At least I would perceive it as both myself and my girlfriend, but I haven't been able to do that because there's been so much masculine wounding. And my life being threatened, it's not been, as you can imagine, it's not been a pleasant journey. And I just want to get to myself to a place where I can steer my life in a direction where I'm not, even if I talk about it, which I'm quite open to talk about it, but I don't feel like I can see that there's marked progress, that I don't feel that certain things in my life, in my past, no longer, especially my childhood, which was it was pretty violent, was not, no longer affects me. So it's
mm,
like, and it's taken its toll on me in terms of me mentally, uh, my physical fitness, my body, chronic ailment and pain. It's just, I just feel like my whole life has just been crippled and impaled at times.
mm, mm.
So what would you say if you were to get into a relationship or be in that type of space? What's the usual pattern that you notice when it comes to being with someone? Is there a pattern of what tends to happen going into it and then going out of it?
Yeah. The general pattern is, I mean, you have the whole honeymoon phase, right? We all go through it, and when that starts to come, when that starts to die off, and then it's like, it's really starting to get to know the other person. It's like I don't quite know how to describe it, but I know as of recent times, especially post my awakening, I've started to understand that what we have been shown as life is not what a relationship should be. So, for example, I'll talk about my previous relationship. It was like I had to drive 55 miles. I had to leave my ex-girlfriend's house. Okay, she had 2 kids from previous relationships, so I understand. But it was like, the beginning, I guess it's early stages, but it was like, things like I didn't feel like I got that appreciation from her. I had to drive 55 miles. I was waking up at 5 a.m. I'd go to do 7.5 hours in the office. I'd drive another 25 miles to London. And then I would sort of leave her house at 3 a.m. and I'd be like falling asleep at the wheel, doing about 105 on the motorway. I did that for about a month. And it was just like, it felt like I was just being controlled, and I didn't have the capacity to be able to voice my how I felt at times. It's just like, and then when I would get the moment to voice occasionally, then everything would I would literally, just this fit of rage would come out from me, and it would just explode like a volcano.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen that pattern happen. Yeah, it's happened with a number of. I mean, my relationships have been very, very short. I mean, the last one was only probably my longest, which was 10 months. It's near enough a year, with an ex-colleague of mine who used to work with me back in 2006. We ended up we didn't see each other for like 7 years. Got back in contact, went on a date, and it just happened. We ended up getting together. So.
Nim, when was the first time that you spoke up for what you needed, and then that was rejected or denied or wasn't heard?
Just to clarify, are we talking about my previous relationship, or is this just a sort of in general?
Just in life, like just in general, like what's the first time in your life that you can remember where you spoke up for what it is that you wanted and needed, and it wasn't heard or cared for?
I've had a number of short relationships, so truth be told, I can't remember. But if I was to answer that question in a slightly different way, I'd say normally it's when I feel like I don't get my way, or it's just that I feel like I'm not being heard. That's probably the best answer I could give to that question.
Mm-hmm.
I've probably tried, I think, when it's just, I'd say it's trivial. It's probably trivial things as well. But I also think it's again, trivial could be subjective, because it's like one person might consider something trivial. My girlfriend, for example, if I had one right now, my girlfriend would probably think that it's trivial, but I wouldn't think that. I'd think, well, no, sorry, that's important. It matters to me. And I don't have it's situations like that where I don't have the courage to be able to speak up. And when I want to try and speak up, it's like I get shut down, and then I go into cocoon shell, and I just can't.
If you were to think about, I'll say this, and then you tell me if it resonates.
Sure. Yeah.
When someone's been through a childhood like what you've been through with the abuse and the hardships of that, it tends to create a pattern in us where we bring in people and circumstances where we have to really try.
Of course, yeah.
Right? So it's like
patterns keep repeating, yeah.
Yeah, you have to like go above and beyond just to be noticed or to be loved, and it still doesn't bring us that feeling.
Right. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So would you say that that's a cycle that you feel you're still kind of putting yourself into, where you have to really just try so hard just to be heard, loved, acknowledged, validated?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it even extends into my family members, whom I won't go too much into the family detail because I guess it's probably not. It might be relevant, it might not be, but I'll say this much, that it's family members that I've rekindled my relationship after X number of years, because I was led to believe that they were manipulative, etc., etc. Even with them, it's like my life was threatened. And I guess it's because now I've started to realize that studying a course in shadow work, it's starting now to show me that it's like that the veil's been lifted, and now I'm being showed that I guess I mean, I've just had an interesting thought. It's like I can't trust anyone now. And I do know that there are people that do care for me, they do help me, and I do have trust with them, but I think that trust is very limited because of what's happened in the past. I don't know how to. I think I've lost connection with my emotions. Sometimes now I just don't know how to react to things.
Yeah. Nim, do you trust your own judgment to choose people in your life who care for your needs and will listen to your needs?
No. I don't think I trust myself enough to do that, because it's history patterns have repeated in that I've tried and tried time and time again, expecting that things will get better and better and better. And in some regards, to be honest, they have. In other regards, something new's come up, and it's just like, when is this going to end? When is this going to end? I mean, why am I feel like I'm being suppressed by everyone? Everyone around me. I'm not allowed to live my life the way I want to. But that pattern keeps repeating from my dad, and even my uncle. It's just like sometimes I feel like I'm really repressed by him.
Right.
Right.
Where do you feel that when you really focus on that pattern? Is there a certain place in your body that you feel that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it might be the throat as well. Maybe my throat chakras might be, but it's definitely, it's always, as it is with a lot of people, it's always down here in the solar plexus.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of rage and pain in my solar plexus. I know that because it's manifested as a chronic ailment. So it's, yeah.
I noticed that anger, guilt, and shame, those three things tend to cover up our biggest pains.
Right.
Notice that. I mean, in myself, we always go to, whenever we're in emotional pain, we don't always realize it. We always go to one or three, or three sometimes. For me,
yeah,
I'm in pain, I'll probably get frustrated. And I know then to look for something underneath. And so that anger is sort of this, I guess, containing it and not knowing what to do with it, not knowing how to release it, and then to get angry. So we all feel better after we've had a bit of an outburst because we've released some energy some way.
Of course.
Right? It brings relief. But maybe we want to go in and do some clearing.
Yeah. I think that'd be good. Are you okay with that, Nim? If we go in there a little bit and go deeper?
Yeah.
Cool.
Did you want to talk a minute?
You can take that, Laura.
Okay. So do you want to have your eyes closed or open? It's totally up to you. I recommend closed, but some people don't want to.
Yeah, I'll try. Yeah, I'll try the. Yeah, I'll go closed.
All right. So just focusing in on the center of the stomach. So that's solar plexus energy. So just focus all your energy and focus just in that one spot for me. Can you feel anything physically when you do that? Do you feel nauseous, or do you feel any pressure? Do you feel, or is it mainly emotions for you?
I can't really feel anything different in that. It's just it's just the same amount of pain is just there. I can't really feel any different.
Is there an emotion that comes up before anything else? Is there a specific emotion that you can feel in that space? What's the first thing that comes up for you?
I'm getting the word shock. It's like bouts of shock. It's like a shocking feeling.
Mm-hmm. What does it pull your energy in, or does it push your energy out when you focus on that shocking feeling?
I think it's something like it just comes through and then it pushes out throughout my body.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a wave or a pulsation of whatever it is, that it's just coming up and then going all. I just feel like it's going towards all parts of my body.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. As you fall deeper into that space, as you just focus on that space that's been pushed in for so long, and you allow more of that to come through, what do you start to feel, maybe notice, maybe see or sense as you fall deeper into that solar plexus space? So you're just falling back into that space, and you're in safe space. We have you held, safe to feel it. As you fall into that space, what starts to come forward?
Can't really sense anything different. It's just
What are you holding on to, Nim? It's safe. What are you holding on to?
my focus kind of shifts away now from the stomach. It goes
Mm-hmm.
to my sort of here. It's kind of like towards my intestinal area here.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
What happens if you take the energy that you can see? What happens if you try and remove it? What does that do for you?
it's like a burning sensation. Really, there's a lot of fire,
Yeah.
burning sensation.
So would you say it wants to be there right now? It doesn't want to be removed?
It wants to move around, but no, I don't think it wants to be removed.
Mm.
What purpose is it serving?
Nothing. It's just inflicting pain.
Did it serve a purpose at some point in your life? It's safe. It's safe, my friend.
Yeah, I'd say it did.
Did it really? Maybe it didn't, but I mean, I'm getting the sense that it could have.
How did it help you at one point?
I'm not quite sure.
What if you were to have a conversation with it like it was a friend?
Mm-hmm.
What does it want to tell you?
Oh, it's angry.
Why is it angry?
It's all the suffering.
Mm.
As a kid, as a child.
What does that child need to hear from you now? The child still exists within you. The suffering, the hurt that it's experienced. What does it need to hear from you?
I'm being told to let go and forgiveness.
Who do you need to forgive? What is it that you need to let go of, do you think?
Trauma, negative emotions.
Can we bring in all the compassion that you have right now for that child? Can we just surround the energy in the body just with complete compassion for what he went through?
Mm-hmm.
And what does it feel like when you surround him with compassion?
I get the impression he's so rebellious. He doesn't want. He's just so angry. He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to know anything. He's so angry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because of the way
Yeah.
because the way he was treated, and
I don't blame him at all for wanting to be angry, rebellious, and get destructive and cause a lot of, cause a lot of shit to happen. I mean, he had a lot of shit happen to him.
yeah, it's true.
Is there something that he wants to tell you? What would he tell you right now with that anger? What would he want to express?
So I think he's saying like you hated me. I think this is directed at me. You didn't do anything about it.
Mm.
Self-hate? I don't know.
Mhm.
Is that true? Did you really? Is that really true? Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. I really don't know. Yeah, it's safe, Nim. That's safe.
How long? How many years?
Mm.
Mhm.
Neglect.
Mm-hmm.
Not loving myself enough. And that's what my frustration is. I don't seem to understand why this, it just,
Would you say that you were ever taught how to love yourself or anyone else? Were you ever shown how to do that?
no, definitely not. The only thing I was taught was just to be angry, rageful, jealous,
So,
hateful, arrogant.
so knowing that, how does it feel now when you try and wrap up that little boy with compassion and understanding? He was never taught how to love anyone, anything. So he couldn't do anything at that time. So what does it feel now if you've wrapped that up in compassion and love? Does he let you?
I think he sees understanding in that logic, yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
What would he need to hear from you to allow him to trust you?
He says rage releasing,
Mm-hmm.
anger releasing,
Mm-hmm.
it's forgiveness,
Mm-hmm.
self-forgiveness.
What if that energy of anger was like a large stone? What do you think it's covering up underneath?
It's like it's crushing a person.
Mm.
The person's reaching their hand out for help, but the sheer weight of it is just dropping on the person's back.
Mm.
Mm. Who's it crushing?
I don't know. Can't quite make out. It's quite a gory scene. It's like, I don't know. It's just the weight of it. It's just going on the person's back. They're sort of laying face down, but it's just crushing them down.
Mm.
What
I
do you
can't
think?
quite tell who it is.
What do you think you'd need to do to be able to gain the strength to move that rock? What would you need?
Light, feeling peace,
Mm-hmm.
Smile on my face. Happiness.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that you can teach the little version of you how to do that?
Be a long journey, but that healing doesn't help. Yeah.
Mm.
If he's opened up to compassion, because if he's at least open to the idea of compassion, then I guess, so long as he's told me that, it's self-forgiveness, it's not the only self-forgiveness bit I don't quite follow though, because if it's like I'm blaming my younger version's blaming me, but yet the logic dictates that it's not me who caused all this, so why should I blame myself for it?
Mm-hmm. Who do you think taught you to blame yourself? Who taught you that? Who taught you that it was your fault all the time?
Oh, that was my dad's shadow projected on me.
Mm.
No, I've worked that one out. That was his projection.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
He had a similar ordeal when he was a kid.
Mm. What would you tell your father if you had your voice, which you do now? What would you tell your father? And it's welcome, however messy it looks.
I'd be silent and I'd just observe and just accept that that's his own projection. It's only his own shadows. That's his baggage.
Mm-hmm.
It's not mine.
Mm-hmm.
How does your inner child feel about that? How does your little guy feel about that? Feel okay with that? Would he want to say more? Would he want to be quiet?
No, I think he's getting upset about that. So I guess he probably wants to voice his opinion, but I sense there's some sort of frustration because he knows what the outcome is. That if he does try to raise his voice, he's just going to get shut down.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
kind of cycle is the loop is
The
between me
loop.
and my dad.
Yeah. Would it, if you just allowed to say what it is that you needed to say, and you wouldn't be shut down if you got so loud
Yep.
that you couldn't be ignored?
Mm-hmm.
How do you think that little guy would feel if you got so loud that you couldn't be ignored? How would that little guy feel?
I think he'd feel better.
I think he would too.
Yeah, there was a certain sense of relief here in my intestine. It was just
Hmm. If that little guy was heard, if his voice was heard,
yeah.
and he saw that he was heard, how would things change for you, Nim? How would things change for you now?
I think I'd be able to get in touch with him more often.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that me getting the words bridge this gap between us.
Mm-hmm.
Even just voicing my opinion and telling my family members that I'm doing this thing called shadow work and I'm actually doing it to release my past. Whether they believe it or not, that's up to them. But
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like kind of, I think that would be a first step to at least try to prove to him, who is actually a part of me,
Mm-hmm.
that it's what's important to me that counts. And I think that's, for me, doing shadow work is important to me that counts, so that I can make progress in my life. I guess I'm not having to do it for anybody else. I'm doing it for me, so I don't need to prove anything to anyone.
Mm. Yeah.
And what does it feel like if you were to just, now that you have more of a voice and an understanding, so you've got the compassion, you've got the wisdom,
Yeah.
what does it feel like if you were to focus on your father and everything that he's been through? Is there any way for you to have compassion for the way he's been and why? Can you get to that place? It doesn't change what he
I
did to
think
you.
I can visualize it happening, but it wouldn't be an overnight thing. Although I don't know, because maybe this is my lack of belief, but his age and stuff, he's set in his own ways. I don't know if he'd change now.
Do you think that he needs to change, or do you think you can just accept who he is and what he's been through and let him just be his own person?
Let him be his own person, just accept what he's been through.
Because we've all been in pain, right?
Absolutely.
So what does that energy feel like now when it's in your stomach, focusing back on it? What does it look like now?
There's still a lot of heaviness, but it feels a little bit lighter.
Mm-hmm.
At least I feel a wee sense of confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What have you found?
Who, me or my inner child?
Where is the confidence? Is it the child or is it you or is it both?
I think it's me.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel confident about?
Just telling people what's on my mind, telling them what's important to me. And I guess making myself feel heard. And
Mm.
if they don't care, well, I just it's I feel like it's better to get it off my chest and tell people
Mm-hmm.
the way I feel rather than let it all build up and amalgamate in me and then it just one day explodes.
Mm-hmm. Nim, what would allow you to develop more trust with that inner child? What would allow him to trust you more?
Speaking my truth, setting boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it will be allowing me to become me, but more like him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't quite understand what that means. I have a theory, but hazard a guess. I think that's probably what that bridge, that gap thing is between me and him. It's like we don't have that bridge between us anymore. He's still open to receiving the compassion that I would give him, instead of, I guess, him just being inside me, just crying away all the time, constantly just telling me, do something about it, do something about it. Don't keep bottling everything up.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Nim, do you see room for you two to be buddies and pals and on the same team? Is that possible?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
We can. I'm just being reminded, like being a teacher, and how childish sometimes I act with my younger kids that I teach. It's like, yeah,
How does that possibility feel to you for you guys to be partners?
it's like we're playing on the same team.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you be more effective in the world, more happier with life if you guys were on the same team?
Yes, because I'll be able to move ahead with my life in a way, and set the right kinds of boundaries with people that come into my life,
Mhm.
for myself and between me and those people as well.
Mhm.
Mhm. And is there anything that's keeping that partnership from moving forward?
No, apart from just being able to speak my, sort of speak my truth, be a bit more, not necessarily rude or direct, but just be firm and polite. I just voice my opinion, have a voice, I guess. And
Mm.
yeah, I think in time we'll grow closer.
What does little Nim, inner child, you need to hear from you in order for that trust to be established and maintained?
Forgiveness of self and others. No, it just keeps coming back to setting boundaries with people.
Mm-hmm.
Can you understand where or why you struggled to have boundaries in the past? Do you understand, seeing everything that you've seen today? Can you understand why that was never really easy for you in the past to have boundaries?
Because I didn't have a voice.
Yeah. So now when you focus on that energy in the body,
Yeah.
now knowing everything that you've seen today, why do you think, what was the purpose of carrying that anger and that pain? What was it doing for you? What was it doing to try to help you? Or what was it covering to try and help you?
It's just eating me up from inside.
Mm-hmm. So what happens now if we try and remove it and put it to the light? Is it ready to go now?
Yeah. I
So
don't
what
want it anymore.
great. So what do you want to do with it? Do you want to throw it away, brush it away, vacuum it away? Do you want to send it to the light? What feels right for you?
Just sort of let it dissolve and melt away.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, I had this thought of just ripping it out, but then I
Mm-hmm.
just suddenly changed my mind. I thought, no,
Yeah.
maybe dissolving it and is probably a better option.
Yeah, because it's a part of you, right? And we say thank you so much. It had its purpose. It would
Yeah.
have helped you in some way in the past, and we're so grateful for that. And we say thank you, and we say that it can now move into the light and come back to the wholeness. So we just let that dissolve.
Mm.
Yeah.
Nim, how does your throat feel right now?
I don't think I've noticed any change between it, but
I just want you to place your awareness there just for a little bit, just on the throat.
okay.
Do you notice anything there? Do you feel anything? If not, that's okay. Maybe so. Maybe not.
Yeah, I can feel my throat there, but I don't think it's. I'm getting this sensation of a pulsation from my heart going up there.
Yeah. I just want you to imagine, if you can imagine or visualize, just a white ring around the heart and then a white ring around the throat. And I just want you to imagine those rings expanding out in all directions, out to the right, to the left, out in front of you, behind you. There we go. I just want you to imagine that those rings expanding out around the throat, around the heart, to the right and the left, behind you, in front of you, all the way out. Continuing to open up more and more and more. And as those rings expand out in all directions around the heart and the throat, what do you start to feel?
Yeah, there's a slight discomfort in my throat.
Mm-hmm. What's that discomfort about?
It's kind of like it's like pain here now between.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's that?
What emotion do you feel that is if you were to really look at it? What does it feel like having that feeling in the throat and the heart?
Oh, it's definitely rage.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely fueled with anger and rage.
Mm-hmm. So it's moving up through the body, right? Up. Why do you think the anger and the rage would sit in that place in the body?
Because no one listens to me.
Mm-hmm.
No one listens to me. No one takes me serious. No one gives a damn about me.
Mm-hmm.
No one seems to care about, that the fact that I've got something in me. I have a heart. I've got emotions. I've got a voice. I would like people to, just hear what I have to say rather than shut me down every time.
Mm-hmm. What would allow your voice to be heard?
Venting when need be, and I guess venting when need be, venting not when I'm around people, in case, if I feel that I don't, it's like creating my own space to go and release whatever it is through my throat there.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing the fact that people are that ignorant that they're not going to listen to me, I need to just release it somehow. Otherwise, bottling up is not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a choice as to the people you surround yourself with, Nim?
No.
Okay.
It's difficult. Family members.
Mhm. If they were to hear you, what feeling would that bring for you? How would that make you feel if they were actually to hear what you were saying? Regardless of what it is, what would it feel like for you to be heard?
There'd be fear there, worry about what might happen next.
Mm.
So you think there would be consequences to your opinion?
Yes.
Mm.
And where did you learn that?
From individuals who told me certain things.
Mm-hmm.
What did they tell you, Nim?
Well, it's like criticizing me and my generation for listening to a certain type of music, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that my generation don't seem to appreciate what the previous generation's music was, because we don't listen to it, for instance.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that that's still valid, or do you think you want to let that go?
There is some truth in it, in that some songs that were written, in the days gone by, they had meaning, and I guess maybe a lot of music these days probably doesn't have meaning. So it probably does, but it's probably meaning that doesn't resonate with them.
Mm-hmm.
Does it really matter?
No, it doesn't.
Right. Yeah. Whatever you like is what you like, and whatever they like is what they like.
Yeah.
Would you say that your opinion of what you do like, would you say you're pretty rooted in that? Would you say that you honor your opinions and you find value in your belief? Do you love and trust the person that you are and the beliefs that you hold? Are you firm in that?
My music defines me.
Mm.
What about your beliefs about healing and shadow work and being the man that you are? What about those beliefs?
In terms of voicing them?
Yeah. Or holding them, the beliefs that you've learned over the years, are
Yeah.
you totally solid in those? You know who you are, or is there anything that wavers there?
I wouldn't necessarily say that they're 100% solid, but there's progress that has been made since the time before, in the recent past, to actually sticking to my guns.
Mm-hmm.
How does it feel now if you focus back on the throat and the heart?
Feels better.
Mm-hmm.
Feels better.
Nim, is there a part of you that doesn't want to believe that it can get better?
there's an attention seeking and sympathy seeking side to me, which I've noticed in my shadow.
What's that really about?
Giving my power away.
Giving your power away in that way, what does that do for you? What do you get from that?
So, giving my power away.
Like just wanting sympathy from others and part of your shadow validating that or seeking that out.
Yeah, it's just that I want. There's a part of me that wants people to feel sorry for me because of what happened to me in my past.
Yeah. So when someone hears what you've been through and they have empathy for you, what does that feel like for you when you receive that?
Makes me feel sorry for myself.
And what does that bring?
It's like a self-validation or something. Yeah, it's like a validation of the fact that I'm self-validating for the fact that I need to feel sorry for myself.
It sounds like it's a real way to give yourself self-compassion that just might not work out.
Right.
But I can see where it's coming from. Is there a better way to get the attention that you'd like to get or that inner child wants? Is there a better way to get the attention that you're really looking for?
To work on getting better, focusing the attention on achieving things and working on myself to get myself out of the rut by doing what I feel is necessary and what should be done so that I can break the cycle.
Can you understand why you've been in that cycle? If to some level it brings you validation to seek.
Yeah.
Can you understand why you'd want to hold on to that and that makes you feel safe? The story you've been through might make you feel safe, do you think?
There is a place of there is like a safety net that I think that's been created for me to use to fall back on when I see the opportunity for somebody to feel sorry for me.
Yeah.
And it's like it's kind of like a go-to place or like a go-to mechanism that's just been there for me to just keep falling back on every time.
Do you want
and a habit of comparing me to other people.
Is that something that you think you want to hold on to, or do you want to create something new today?
No, I don't want that. I do not want that.
That's great.
What do you want? What can we create today that will make you feel valid in who you are now and what you are now? What would that safety net look like?
Well, for a start, it would not be constantly telling my story all the time. And it wouldn't be in that I wouldn't be in that situation where we're having to tell people everything. Maybe tell someone who's very close to me, but it's not something that I would bring up at the beginning. for example, a relationship, I wouldn't bring it up straight away. But I also feel that there's just an urge to just release it. It's just, if you release it once and for all, you don't need to have that safety mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to fall back onto that safety net to use as a means of attention seeking.
What's a better story that would motivate you to get a different type of attention, to get the attention that you're looking for? One based around achievement, one based around some of those standards that you shared with us earlier.
Yeah. Just making my life active and productive enough to to give me self-fulfillment. And I think that I can kind of get the impression that would be very much welcomed even by my inner child, because even he'll see that now actually there is something else that I'm using as a means to replace that backstory, if you will, that's been there for so long. There's something else that I can take and put it in its place and replace it. And then there's no space for that there to exist any longer. And I think that's probably where it would be, like just literally replacing something and clearing out the old.
Are you okay with that? Like, what would you like to replace it with?
I just anything I'd love to achieve. I mean, for me, it would be an aspiring thing that I wanted to do was in fact become a shadow work coach myself, because I just feel that I just feel that it's, I don't know. I've kind of made I've kind of been led to the impression that a lot of what's happened in my past, and I think now it's made a bit more sense now. It's not supposed to be about the safety mechanisms. It's probably for me to kind of act as a guide or a mentor to others, not necessarily heal them, because I know people have to do their own healing, but you can show them the doorway. You can be like a way shower to show people that no matter how bad the journey is, you can still come back.
Yeah.
That's a much more hopeful story. I like that one.
Definitely.
Can you tell me, because of what the story that you've been telling or what you've been through, what's the blessing? What is the blessing of what you've been through? Can you just really reiterate that for me?
Oh, definitely. My spiritual awakening, which is really welcomed. My spiritual awakening, and the fact that I've seen it as an opportunity to heal something, which if I didn't have all those horrid experiences, there would be nothing for me to heal in the first place.
Right.
And as a result, I don't think I would be where I am today. So I wouldn't be able to I wouldn't be that aspiring way shower to be able to help other people and mentor and guide them in a similar direction the way you guys are doing for me today.
So if you were to meet someone tomorrow, so if I was to say, hi, my name's Laura, nice to meet you. What's your story? Why are you the person you are today? What's your story? What story do you want to tell them now? What do you want to say? Who are you? Take your time. This is new. This is a new story.
I'd try and focus my attention as much as I can on the present. That would be it. Wouldn't be. I would try my best to be mindful of the fact that instead of going onto that, falling onto that mechanism, I'd just try and be as present as I can. And as in how things evolved in their own time, a friendship or something grew between myself and someone else, then I could open, open up just like a flower, but it doesn't open up overnight, just gradually. It wouldn't be. And I think doing it at a slow pace would probably feel like I'm more empowered. I'm in control of it.
Mm-hmm.
And how does that feel compared to the beginning of this call and that story? Can you feel the difference?
Yeah. If I feel empowered and I'm able to control in it, then I think I've made a marked achievement in my life, in my journey.
That's great. Yeah. Nim, I just want to, before we close up here, I just want to ask one or two questions.
Sure.
What's a compelling vision for your life? Not your whole life, just whatever's coming next for you. What's a compelling vision that you, your present self, and your inner child can live into together on the same team? Like, what's a compelling vision that excites the both of you, or that brings more life in?
I've got two things.
Yeah.
One's channeling,
Uh-huh.
and the other is actually making a difference to this world based on my own experience, but not telling my story with the idea of seeking the intention. It would be kind of telling my story with the idea to, after all the healing work, or at least a large portion of it is done, then I can say to myself, look, I could say to, well, not just myself, but to others, that I've done this, but I've achieved this to replace all these low emotions, these low vibrations. I've released all of it. And if I can do it, so can you. And I think that's what he'll be really happy about. My suffering hasn't gone in vain.
So, how do you feel? Did you want to open your eyes? How are you feeling?
Yeah.
Don't smile too much yet, Nim.
Don't be too happy.
No, I do feel different. I feel a lot lighter.
Yeah. Your eyes are smiling. I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's always the way. Like, people can all smile with their mouths, but smiling with their eyes is that's how you can tell how someone's doing, through the eyes. Yeah.
But yeah, no, thank you guys so much. Yeah, it's amazing. It's like, I know there's a lot more to be done. There's still things that are going to come up because it's just layers. There was people use the analogy of the onion, there's always layers and stuff. But at least I think now I feel that little bit more empowered. What I guess I wanted to get out of this. I feel a bit more empowered that, even if I stand up and I speak to somebody, if someone's going to shut me off, then okay, I just let it go. It's not, it's not the end of the world, because that's their view, and it's just kind of, that's me drawing the boundary. I guess that's one of the other things that I've often been confused about when it comes to shadow work is when people talk about drawing boundaries. Well, where do you know when it comes to drawing a boundary? What does a drawing boundary look like? Does it mean actually saying to somebody that, look, that's not what you do? Is it like being a bit more resistant, or is it saying to somebody that, are you, okay, that's fine? I mean, or is it depends on the situation?
Drawing boundaries, Nim, is our natural state when we grow up in a healthy family, which is probably 1% of the population.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, but all you have to do is just communicate what you're really thinking and feeling. And if it comes out as rage at first, that's okay. It comes out as rage. I remember when I first was doing this work, I would like yell at my family, and then I would apologize. I'd be like, F you guys, like, this is horrible. Like, you guys don't respect this. And I just let it all out because I had a whole 22 years of never voicing my own opinion. And then I would say sorry. And then I'd be like, fuck you again, like right in the next second. Yeah. And then eventually I learned to communicate. But that was me. That was that inner child trying to voice boundaries for the first time when it had no communication skills.
Right.
And so I guess, I mean, we got about about 10 minutes for this. If I was who's someone who violates your boundaries?
My dad and my uncle.
Mm-hmm. So if I was your dad and your uncle,
yeah,
and I was doing something or yelling at you, yeah, what would you say to me right now? I'm your dad or your uncle. What would you say to me right now?
If it was my dad, I'd say. If it was my father, I'd just say to him, "Okay, Dad, that's your opinion. That's your opinion," and I'd probably leave it at that. Just knowing with that understanding, which I think Laura, you sort of drew out from me with the understanding about, that's his own childhood. It's his thing, and acknowledging the fact that he has had those issues instilled him in that fear. He doesn't know what it is. He doesn't have a certain degree of awareness himself, which again isn't really his fault because he doesn't know about all these things. He is spiritual in his own way. He's had his own awakening, but he's not got to that point, which I guess what we kind of perceive as a shadow and stuff. But he's in his own world, his own cocoon shell, if you like, and he's not prepared to open up out of it. I can't stick my hand in there and rip him out of his cocoon shell. Mm-hmm. Now, if it was my uncle, on the other hand, who's passive aggressive, sociopathic, with him, if it was him who confronted me right now in the situation, I guess it wouldn't be any different in the way I'd react. I'd just say, okay, well, fine, that's your point, but looking at it from my perspective, and I'll try and be compassionate about it rather than being fearful and just being silent. I would try and bring a sort of a compassion to the, and knowing the fact and understanding that he's had his own difficult life, a very difficult life, an extremely challenging one. Because of his own past.
Nim, you don't have to justify why they are the way that they are. And I know that's being compassionate, but in those moments, you just have to be compassionate for you. What's most compassionate for me? Hey, man, I don't want to talk about it right now. That's your own stuff. That's mine. I'm going outside later.
Okay.
Like that, it can be that simple. And then if they get all mad, you just be like, dude, stop acting crazy. Like, stop acting crazy. And yes, you can know the whole story of why they are the way they are, how they got, abused as a child and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But that's theirs. That's not yours.
Right. Sure.
And so drawing boundaries is as simple as, hey, look, can't talk to me like that. I'm going outside later. End of story. Boundary, energetic lines cut. I'm going outside. Okay, yeah, that's cool. Look, it sounds like we have different opinions. I just don't believe in that. These are mine, but that's fine. That's yours. But don't expect me to believe what you believe. You can communicate it however you want.
Sure.
Yeah, I think everything's different. I have moments where I've had to do that, where I've been like, do you know what, whatever, let you do your thing. And if someone's coming at me, then for me, my boundary is to say, I don't want to be in this space right now. So I'm out. But then there has been times where I think, where someone's sharing an opinion with me and I think, wow, that really is nothing that I would want to take on board. But I've also been where I'm like, oh, wow, okay, I totally respect that that's your opinion. And I love that. That's cool. It's not for me. But so it's like combining what Jared said and then what you were saying with like having compassion. Yeah, because you're right. Everyone has a story. Every single person has a story.
Of course. Yeah.
And it doesn't mean it has to become part of our story. Sometimes it does. Sometimes we want it to be. Sometimes we don't. So knowing that it's okay to walk away if you feel like this is not where I want to be right now. Having compassion for yourself, turning the compassion inwards and saying, screw this. You can't talk to me like that now. I'm going to bounce. But then there may be times where you think, okay, this isn't really what I want to be in, but I think I'm actually going to learn something from what they're saying, even if it's not what I believe. And in those moments, exactly what you say, where it's like, you have a story, okay, I'll open up space and let that come through. If that's something that you want to do, and you're going to know in each moment whether you want to cut it off or whether you want to go into the space of the heart space, because sometimes people need that place where they need to say something and be heard, because you know what that feels like. So maybe you want to offer that to someone sometimes, and maybe they're going to really cross the boundary and insult your energy, and that's when you want to be like, dude, I'm going out into the garden. I'll catch you later, right? So you're going to know. And there are going to be other times where you don't do either of those things, where you're going to find a whole new way to have a boundary. And the thing is, I found that once I figured out that blend where I wanted to be with my boundaries, people don't cross anymore. It's very rare that someone comes in and my boundary, because my energy says, this is who I am. People don't cross me. So I don't really receive that much anymore. And that's cool too. You'll get to that point because you master something and it becomes a part of who you are. And then you have to think about, how do I put up a boundary, or how do I communicate, or how do I love? It just is who you are. And so you just get to like be that space all the time without having to think about it. And that's cool. Right. You'll totally get that. That's with everyone. We see something, we learn it, we master it, it becomes part of who we are, we move on to the next thing.
Sure.
You know? So it's like constant evolution of like learning how to move through life. Like we've all got to learn to use our voice. Jared's really good with his voice. I'm not as good with my voice. So I learned from him how to communicate.
Okay.
Right. So we bring in like different energies, different people to teach us these things: communication, love, understanding, compassion, wisdom, everything. It's like a ladder. So it's kind of knowing when to use what. You'll know for sure.
Okay. I guess I just need to just implement it, and then just trial and error, and then just work out what works best for me, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
We're going to close up here, Nim, but what I found when drawing boundaries, the best way to do it is to use humor. If you can't run from it, using humor is probably the best way to do it.
To diffuse it, right.
I had to diffuse it. Like I had my mother called me the other day. She was like really worried about the coronavirus and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And it doesn't faze me at all. But I could tell her she wanted me to kind of latch into that anxious energy to feel that sense of connection. And I just looked at her and I said, Mom, we're all going to die and humanity's going to end. And I said it with a really like laughing, funny tone. And then she like got that reflection back, and then she just laughed, because in that moment she could see her own thinking being reflected back to her, but with the emotion of humor.
Yeah.
Okay.
So does that make sense? So if you have someone coming at you angry, it's like, oh man, you must be really angry right now. And sometimes that might not work. Like sometimes it depends. Like they might
I guess you have to know where to draw a boundary there. Yeah.
Right. But other times I've found that humor works really well to diffuse when someone wants you to latch into their angry energy or to their anxious energy.
Sure. Humor
is a really great way to do that.
Yeah. I think it was Matt Kahn. I don't know if I know that he does where he because I assume he's gay. I think that's the idea of the joke. I assume so. He was at a dinner party once, and this guy was sat across the table from him, and he was completely bashing homosexuality, gay marriage, like forever. And all his friends were sat around and thinking, "Oh my god, like Matt sat right there, and his husband's at home. Like this guy's bashing homosexuality." And Matt was like, I just listened to him for like 20 minutes as to why gay men shouldn't be able to get married. And then I turned to him and I said, wow, you're going to really need your strength to keep talking about this. Let's go get you some food. Come on, let's go get you a snack, right? And it's just like completely dispersing the energy, putting lighthearted energy on it, not taking it personally. He has his opinion. It's obviously against what Matt lives by because he's married, I believe. So it's just like, sometimes you just have to use a little bit of humor. I've done that, and I've done what Jared said, where you're like, wow, dude, you are angry. You all right? Do you need a snack? Like, are you hungry? Because it kind of lightens the energy a little bit, and it makes that person soften up. So there's loads of different tactics that you can use to kind of have a boundary or to not let it bother you. Because sometimes if someone's coming at you where you feel you need to have a boundary, there's something in you that thinks you need to protect yourself from that person, and maybe you don't. Maybe that's just something in you. I mean,
yeah,
we can talk forever about boundaries, but we'll find a way.
Nim, what we'd like to do is we'd like to bring you back on real quick next week and just check in with you and see how you're doing. It'll either be Tuesday or Thursday. I got to check the dates. Is that okay with you?
That's fine. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on, Nim.
Thank you for the opportunity to both of you. I'm really grateful. Thank you.
Yeah, we really appreciate you coming on, and I'll check in with you tomorrow. I'll send you an email, just see how you're doing, and then we'll get you back on next week, and we'll wrap it up. Sounds good?
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Thanks so much for coming on, Nim. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Bye for now. All right. Beautiful, everyone. So that's the live coaching session for today. If you guys want to sign up for live coaching, check out the link in the YouTube description box. Laura and I are always taking people to do live coaching. If you have any questions or if you have any thoughts or comments, just check out the link in the YouTube description box below, and you can sign up there, or you can send me an email and we'll work something out to get you on. I think that went really well. It was great to see them lighting up there at the end.
Yeah, I love it when they close their eyes, because then when they open their eyes, they're a whole different person.
Right. You can see that.
Yeah.
You can see it on his face. He was like, there was just a little bit more lightheartedness there. It was a little bit like, oh, okay.
Oh, this is good.
Joke around a little bit.
Yeah, it's funny. I've done that where I've done the healing and I open my eyes and I'm like, oh, everything looks different. Everything looks brighter. Everything looks cleaner, because we all see things through our lenses, right? So it's like the lenses have been cleaned off a little bit and you can see things clearer. So
yeah, I would have loved to role play him, but we didn't have time for that. But I don't know, maybe I'll talk to him about that later. But that would be great. Like a role play would really be helpful for him, just to actually take all those situations. Because if you notice in the end, he said, how do I draw those boundaries? It's like, I know what I need to do, but how do I actually do it? And then it's like giving them the experience of that in this space would be really valuable. I like doing the role plays. They're so much fun. They're so valuable. Valuable.
Into the physical experience, don't they? Like my brother would always say, you don't learn to drive by having driving lessons. You really learn to drive once you pass your test and you're out there on your own in the wild driving. That's when you really learn how to drive. And it's the same with everything. Like, oh, I really understand this, but in order to really grasp it, the universe is going to throw some things at you and give you the opportunity to actually for it to become solid, integrate, and then you go on to learning something else.
Right. Yeah. Beautiful. Well, thanks so much for joining us, guys. Laura and I are done for today, but we do have an interview tomorrow. We're doing our interview with Mina, the Universe Guru. She came on, oh gosh, when did she come on? I guess that would have been about two weeks ago. I think it was about 2 weeks ago. So if you guys want to stick around for that tomorrow, Friday, feel free to check out that interview. I believe that is going, let me check the schedule here.
And that's going live on her channel?
It's going live on all of our channels, actually. Yeah. Sorry. So that will be tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern time. So if you guys want to stick around for that, come on and come join us, and we're going to go deep into a little bit more of what spiritually awakened relationships look like. That's all we got. Thanks so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the day, and we will talk to y'all soon.
We will.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.